everybody, and welcome to a special episode of All About African Violets. All About African Violets is musically sponsored by Ted Yoder. You can hear and purchase his wonderful music on his website at tedyoder.com. It is also available from iTunes. Hi everyone, it's Saturday night here in Chicagoland. It's evening, as you can tell. You can see powwow there on the shelf. You can see the plants down. I turn the lights on and yes, I have my favorite shirt on. Fall is here in Chicagoland, although it was actually warmer today than it's been in quite a while. We've had some very chilly weather here, and it's been a real taste of the fall to come. Some of the trees are already turning. It just takes a few cool nights here, and the maples kind of go, hey, it's time to turn red. Anyway, let's move right into tips and treasures because, the days are getting shorter and lighting is becoming more and more important. And so today we're going to talk about lighting. It's a topic that many of you asked for. And when I am going to take you back to National and we're going to sit down with Neil Lipson. He is an expert in lighting and he answered a lot of questions for me. So this was the first interview that we did, and the second one we did was on photography, but you guys happened to see the photography one first. It just worked out that way. But this interview is a little bit longer, you do have to listen. The sound wasn't ideal because we were in the lobby of the hotel, so I will stop talking and I'll see you on the other side. Hi everybody, I am here with Neil Lipson, and this is a special episode of All About African Violets, and I'm really sleepy because it's late. It's Friday night. We are at National in Nashville, and we just came back from seeing the Grand Ole Opry, which I thought was wonderful, and I got to see Kathy Mattea and Ricky Skaggs, and it was just great. We had a wonderful time, and I convinced Neil to sit down with me and talk about lighting. Lighting is one of the topics that when I asked you guys if there was something that during regular production that I hadn't covered and that you wanted more information on, lighting was one of the topics that came up. And Neil happens to be an expert in lighting. And I'm sure that you have read his column in the African Violet magazine, and he's written there about lighting, among other things. But tonight we're going to talk a little bit about lighting. So Neil, thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
This is great. So lighting, that's like the most important thing for an African Violet, pretty much. I mean, that's the first thing, is light. It really is important.
When I first used fluorescent lighting, my plants exploded in blooms.
Awesome.
And I didn't know how much or how little. I didn't get Growing to Show by Pauline Bartholomew until a year or so later. And then that reinforced a lot of the things I knew. But I did lighting for plants as an engineer. But this was African Violet lighting is different than other kinds of plants.
Right. So you've been growing plants for how long?
It's been plants in general I've been growing all my life, but African violets it's been between 25 and 30 years.
Wow, that's awesome. So initially, when you were growing, you didn't use fluorescent light, but then you started to, and you had great experience with it.
I tried to grow them without fluorescence, and they just didn't bloom the way you were supposed to.
Okay. So when you say fluorescence, I'm guessing that you're talking about what we all think of as the standard fluorescent tube, the T12.
That's
they
correct.
Call them T12s.
T12s.
Okay, that's what my shelves, you guys, when you see look at what's on the stands, those are the lights that I have, and they're very common. I think are they the most common, Neil? Would you say?
They are the most common, and the most common of the fluorescents is the 4-foot T12.
Okay, I have 2-foot.
2-foot is the second most common.
Yeah, I mean I have 3 2-foot stands, and I have 1 4-foot.
Right.
So
for every 2 feet, you have a loss at the ends of the lamp. When you have a 4-foot, it's more efficient than having 2-foot lamps.
That makes sense.
So because the outer edge of the tube is the one area where there's less light.
Okay.
And when you have a continuous thing, you have less loss.
So what are some, I mean, most of us are, you know, I've used only the T12 lights since I started growing plants, and
Yeah.
my plant stands have always had that. And in the more recent years here, I think, you know, there have been a lot of changes. There are other lights, and I think, I mean, from what I hear and from what you guys have told me, that there's some confusion about what are the other types of lights that are available. I mean, what is there out there?
Well, when it comes to any kind of lighting, you want the most bang for the buck.
Mm-hmm.
You want efficiency because of energy.
Mm-hmm.
The light puts out heat, it puts out light, but you have to get the right kind of light.
Mm-hmm.
You just can't go willy-nilly. And the interesting thing about the 4-foot T12s or the T8s is that there's the largest variety of lights and lamps that exist.
Okay, now you've just mentioned T8.
T8.
And I've heard that. I think it's a newer type of fluorescent. Can you elaborate on that for us?
The T8, the 12 and 8 one is 12/12ths of an inch, which is an inch, and the other is 8/12ths of an inch, which is 3/4 inch.
So it's the
two-
roundy one, the one I have.
The T8 is a little bit smaller. It's
So it's
3/4 of an inch in diameter.
So you could not use those tubes. You cannot. Well, let me rephrase that. Can you use a T8 tube in the same light fixture for a T12?
There's an adapter that you can get, and then you can stick it right in there, and that will work fine.
So you could do that.
Yes, you
Okay.
can. That's
okay.
correct.
Okay. Oh, well, that's kind of good to know.
Oh yeah, it's very good. And the new fixtures today are all electronic ballast.
Okay, that's good.
And instead of using 46 watts per lamp, it's like 41 or 42.
So it's
A
more
10%,
cost
10%,
saving.
yeah,
Okay.
10% savings.
Okay. So what's the difference between, other than the savings that you just mentioned, what's the difference between a T12 light and a T8 light?
A T8 is a little more efficient. It's uses about the same electricity, maybe a little bit less, but puts out a little bit more light.
Okay, so so the T8, I'm learning about this at the same time you guys are. This is really interesting, Neil. So the T8 puts out more light,
A little bit more.
a little bit more. So do you need to have it on for a shorter period of time?
A little bit less. You can sometimes, if you've got a standard fluorocarbon, you might be able to raise it a little bit higher to give you better coverage. And what will happen is you'll have not only good light in the middle of the stand, but also better lighting on the edges.
Okay. All right, so it's a little more efficient, it's a little brighter light,
Right.
and how much of we all kind of have a general idea of how much a T12 tube costs. Is there a cost difference between the T12 and the T8?
It's slight. It's not enough to be significant.
But it costs more.
It may cost a
A
little
little
bit
more.
more. There's a wide range of prices on fluorescent lamps.
Okay.
The cheaper, the lower quality light, the cheaper it is. And in some cases, you can get T12 lamps for like $1 each.
Uh-huh.
And that's insanely cheap.
That's really cheap.
Right. And you may not be too concerned about the quality because African violets require different requirements than people do.
Mm-hmm.
There's two colors. The African violets need red and blue.
So when you say there's two colors, you mean there's two colors in the light spectrum that they need?
In the spectrum.
Okay.
Now,
Okay.
a standard fluorescent cool white lamp for residential use
Mm-hmm.
is in this fairly smooth spread
Okay.
Spectrum.
Okay.
It's got red, green, blue. Green is useless to African violets because the green leaves reflect it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So it's useless light. When they came out with the GrowLux series for the T12s,
That's what I use almost exclusively.
right? There's two types of GrowLux. There's the wide spectrum and the regular GrowLux.
Mm-hmm.
One has more of a red, and the other has more of a blue. Now, what a lot of people don't know is that the red and the blue do two different things. The same way as the NPK and the fertilizer Each one of those does something different.
Okay.
The red causes the flowers to bloom, and the blue causes the plants to grow.
Interesting.
So you could, if you wanted to go to the trouble during a show, you could take out the wide, that would be the Growlux WS, and replace them with regular Growlux, and then the plants will bloom more at that time. If you wanted to go through that trouble, most people do. I did it once just for fun.
Just to try it out? Well, you gotta,
And
try stuff out. That's how you learn, right?
Yeah.
Very
and
cool.
And it worked.
All right. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Now, I have also heard, I'm hearing talk about LED lighting. Do you have any experience with that? Can you give us some info on that?
LED lighting is good for very special circumstances, but they are not good at all circumstances,
Okay.
which means they're not good for all different plants. I know that a few people have done intense research by buying them and setting them up. The problem is that from what Optimara has said, is that they had a terrible time getting good growth with the red and the blue flowers. And the only one that really came through perfectly with the LED lamps were the white flowers.
Interesting.
So unless you grow only white flowers, it can be impractical.
Now, an LED light, it's not, is it a tube?
It's really a small, tiny lamp. It's a little thing, and the tubes that they make with LED lamps is basically an empty tube that they put a string of lights in.
Okay.
And
So that's not something that, or is that something that would fit in the same type of fixture, the fluorescent fixture?
I think they make a replacement. They actually do make a replacement for a fluorescent lamp that looks like a fluorescent lamp, only has a string of LEDs in it.
Okay.
But this is at this time, and this is May of 2014.
Right.
At this time, they just haven't done enough research for African violets at all.
Okay, so that would be one that, although it may be out there, might not be optimum, just unless somebody wanted to experiment with it.
Oh yeah, for experimentation,
Okay.
it's great. Now,
Okay.
most experimentation is done with 12-volt LEDs, which means you can't use 120. And you need that 12-volt source. Now, there's a lot of caveats.
So now we're getting technical, so.
Right.
So, okay.
So this is your standard electrical plugs are 120 volts. 12-volt, you would need a transformer.
Okay, so that's really, yeah.
It complicates things.
Okay, and how much does LED lighting cost?
You can get that. They have LED lamps, which are 4 feet long. They go between 15. Sometimes, if you get them at cost, closer to $10, up to about $80.
Okay, so this is could be a more expensive.
It will be more
It
expensive.
would be more expensive. Okay.
And then you question, well, is it that much more energy efficient, and do they last that much longer? They can last anywhere from 10% to 50% longer, and they can give you energy savings. However, you're only concerned about the energy savings during the summer,
Okay.
because during the winter, you get heat from the lamps.
Okay.
And that
mitigates some of that,
mitigates
okay.
the need for running your heater longer.
Okay.
If you live in a warm climate all year round, you're going to want to not necessarily go to LED lamps, but you're going to want to stagger the way the lights go on and off at the time of the day when it's the least hottest.
Okay.
So you would not want to run it at 3 p.m. in the afternoon when the air conditioner is running full blast, because then you're just adding that much load onto the air conditioner.
All right. So then, am I correct in thinking that LED lights are more similar in their heat output to an incandescent bulb that puts heat in into the?
The very least efficient of every lamp is the incandescent.
And the most beautiful. At least I like them in
yes,
my
it
house.
is.
I like them in my house.
Everybody loves them. Then the next least efficient are tungsten halogen. Then you get to the fluorescent lamps, and then they have, for industrial purposes, high intensity discharge, which are called HID, and those are really good. Now, the professional growers will put huge HID lamps, metal halide, what you see at a
Like
football
a stadium, okay.
And they give beautiful lighting, beautiful white light, and that is one of the lowest, but you're not gonna put a
But no,
1,000
we're not gonna
watt.
have that in our house.
No, you're not
that's
gonna do that.
Okay, that's not gonna be in our
So
homes.
the most
Okay.
practical for everybody is the fluorescent, is the 4-foot fluorescent. And the reason that you want to go with the 4-foot fluorescent is that you can get every possible type of lamp that you could think of. You can get warm, cool. You can get a Grolux that has both the warm and cool. You can get aquarium lights. You can get one that's a little bit better for growing, and one's a little bit better for blooming. You have more flexibility, more research, more dollars are put into the 4-foot fluorescent lamp than any other lamp.
Interesting.
Any lamp.
That's
It's
interesting.
really an incredible thing, and it's been that way for years.
Wow. Well, certainly didn't know that. I mean, for me, in my growing conditions and the stands that I have 2x2s, as I mentioned, and one 2x4. And I like my 2x2s for space reasons.
That's
You know,
that's
and
great.
so that's why those work well for me.
Yes.
But, well, this has been very, very interesting. Now, I'm trying to think, is there anything else? We chatted a little bit before we sat down to try to figure out what we would talk about. And so is there anything else, Neil, that you,
Well, here's
that you
what you
feel that we should know about for lighting?
when you're going, if you're going to go with two different lamps, like a warm and a cool,
Oh, so some people do that. They'll put, like in
They'll-
your fixture, you've got two tubes,
they'll
and they'll put
mix
a warm
them.
and a cool. Okay,
they'll mix them.
okay.
There's two types of fixtures, and you have to watch out. One fixture has the two lamps spread far apart. Like, they might be 8 inches wide or 10 inches wide.
Right, that's what mine are.
Okay.
They have a
If-
space in the middle.
If you have that big space in the middle, you do not want to get two separate color lamps, because you'll have the warm on one side, which will be giving half of your plants one kind of color,
Okay.
and then you'll have the cool on the other, which will give the other half a different color. And yeah, you could juggle.
No, so the way the light is, the light comes out in that triangular shape from
Right.
the reflectors on the top, but so they don't meet and they don't mix?
Well, what happens is there's two types of fixtures. One is the rectangular fixture that's nice and flat.
Uh-huh,
It's not curved,
right?
and it's got a tube here and a tube here, and they're 8 inches apart or
Right.
10 inches apart.
Right.
The other one is the curved one, where it's got two lamps right down the middle. If you're going to use two different colors, you want the two lamps to be close together.
Okay,
That way, they're both down the middle, and the plant on the right doesn't get a different light than the plant on the left.
okay,
Now,
okay.
when you go to Home Depot or Lowe's,
Mm-hmm.
what you'll be buying, and when you get an industrial 4-foot fixture, let's say it's made by Lithonia or something, the two lamps are in the middle of the fixture, and there's like a curve to
Like a
it.
shop light.
That shop light is perfect if you want to experiment with two different colors.
Okay, because they're right next to each other.
They're right next to each
So the light
other,
can mix immediately.
And they mix and they cross and they
Okay,
disperse.
okay. Oh, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
That's a great tip, Neil. Thank you.
Yeah. that's
Thank
it.
you.
Yeah, a lot of people run out and they get the other ones, and they think, oh, I'm fine. And then they find that this one side's blooming and this one isn't. But this one has better foliage.
Okay.
And they're going, I don't understand.
That's great. This is really good to know. Well, thank you so much
My
for
pleasure.
sitting down with me.
My pleasure.
And you guys, if you have questions about lighting, please feel free to leave a question on the website. And I probably won't know the answer for sure on that. And I'll ask Neil. All right?
Now, keep in mind, I wrote 3 articles on
I
lighting.
know. They're in the AVM.
And they're AVM, and if you're not an AVSA member, by all means join.
There you go. Thank you.
Okay, my pleasure.
Be right back. Wow, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope that it answered some questions for you. You know, I have not changed my lighting system since I began growing. I mean, regular old fluorescent tubes, the old style, were what was available, and that is what I still use. So, and they've worked well for me. These are humming. I don't know if you can hear the humming. I'm close to them. I just wanted to be close because of the light. But they work really well. And you've also seen, though, you know, the big box violet grow in natural light here. So it's absolutely possible to do both. And so whatever suits you, I hope that that was a helpful presentation. Well, it's time to take a look at what's on the stands, and I think you'll notice some differences. Take a look. Well, good morning, everybody. It is time to take a look at what's on the stands. And here in the guest room, this is Heartland's lime sherbet. Really cool looking. This is Optimara, Michigan, and that is Apecia My Precious. And down here, nothing too exciting. Things are just kind of hanging out. This is Rhapsody Clementine. And down here, this is Optimara Yellowstone. That's Fresh Air. And this is Santee Sioux. Down at the bottom, this is species Rupicola. This is species Orbicularis verpurpurea, and this is plain Orbicularis. Let's head down. Take one more look at this one. It's so gorgeous, isn't it? Let's head down to the basement. Before we look at what's on the stands, I just thought you'd like to see the state of my potting bench. You can see things are in process here, and big messes to be made. Already made, more to be made. Here we are, top shelf. You'll see nothing on the bottom shelf, or second shelf. Here we have species Shumensis. This is Miss Monet. And this is, I think it's Cajun's Cherished Hope. Both beautiful pinks. Let's take a look in here. Wow. A lot of these leaves are trailers. So you can see things are starting to go here. Everything is coming up. And back there, that pink one is Fisherman's Paradise. I am restarting the crown on one of the plants. So everything looking good in here. I think I might have some work to do. And this is Benediction. I let everything stay on bloom for you guys to see it today. Here's my little Petrocosmia carrii. This is the one I have now that I grew from a leaf from the old one. This is Tatanka. This is species Confusa, 790. I think that's Rhapsody Annie, if I'm not mistaken. Let's walk around here. This is Columnia Midnight Lantern. Can you see that beautiful blossom? Really pretty. This is a trailer, Linda Darnell. This is Fisherman's Paradise, and this is Cajun's Frisky Whiskey. And let's just go over here quickly because things are kind of looking raggedy like that here on the strap shelf. Some things are shifted here from upstairs. This is Angela getting ready to bloom. And this is, look how pretty that is. This is DS, I think it's Black Magic it's called. And I don't have my glasses on, so I can't actually tell you. Let's go upstairs to the sunroom. Well, all right, you guys, we're up in the sunroom, and I love to show you this. This is Cherokee Trail, and I have never been successful in growing this one well here in Illinois. It really needs to be repotted. It's a standard trailer, and it's only in a 3-inch pot right now, but I was sort of waiting for it to bloom, that beautiful pink blossom that it has. This one back here is the last of the, I had 2 of the plants from dinner at National, and so we were told we had to wait for them to bloom to find out what they are. So this one's just taking its sweet time blooming. It's got tons of blossoms, it's just not opening up. This is that little Russian one that the translation of the name is Octopussy. You can see why. It's kind of got these big long blossom stalks. And this is species, it's a species, why can't I think of the name of it? I will tell you. Mangagensis. This is Powwow. really, I think, my favorite red. I waited for it to bloom just so that I could see it because I love it. And I will be disbudding this one and potting it on up to a 4-inch pot and letting this one go to town. This is an old vintage variety. It's a Teneri plant called Apollo Pink. And it is also taking its sweet time opening up. So, but it looks to me like it's going to bloom true, and I'm really can hardly wait to see it. And I am very enamored of this trailer. I think this is, I have to look at it and tell you what the name is. I should have put my glasses on, guys, before I came down here, or up here. It's Ramblin' Right Along. I can kind of get so you can see it this way. The variegation on this is so beautiful and so unique, and it's not one of those bush trailers. It's kind of going to trail this way, like in a line, it seems like. And I have the same way that the Teneri Royal Blue trailer trails, and I did repot that one. I'm going to show it to you in a moment. But this is one of the most interesting trailers I've seen in a really long time. The combination of the foliage and the variegation of the foliage, the shape of the leaves, everything about it is appealing in some way. I've had some temperature issues here. We've had a pretty wild cold snap here in Illinois in the last couple of weeks. So I've been kind of going back and forth with the secondary furnace that keeps this room warm. I think this one, as you can see, some of the leaves are a little bit cupped, and I'm reasonably sure, well, that not only it needs to be repotted, but that the temperature has something to do with that. This is Smooch Me, another of my favorites that I'm very happy to have. Back in my collection, I picked it up at National. And down here, very clean, very nice looking. Everything, some of the things that got repotted already, and another start for my Columnia. And that is Teneri's Royal Blue trailer. You can see I really took it down, and I'm letting it go. I also pinched out the center because it was not. Let me see if I can walk around here, show you the other side a little more closely. There, you can get a better look. I did pull the center to try to force it to trail, and we'll see how it goes. Let's take a quick look over at the new big box violet. Oops, short stop. I thought you might like to see the begonia. It's still growing. It looks a little bit wild. I don't know if I'm doing it right. It's just, see, it's kind of, the main stem is here, and it just kind of is almost trailing along. I'm going to have to do some reading up about begonias and see if I'm doing it okay. But what I can do is just sort of sweep around here over to the new big box violet, and it had a little issue. When I actually potted this one, I did not, this is important I think to know, I didn't have time to soak the inner layer, the inner pot, so that it would be, so that it would be able to really get that going with the water. And I think that made a really big difference. I had to really water this here in this section to get it to now be pulling the water from the outer section. So I think it's growing. I think it looks a little bigger than the last time we saw it. That's the look at what's on the stands today. I'll be right back. I loved showing you everything that's in bloom. I let a lot of stuff come into bloom just because sometimes I need to see that too. I'm still waiting for a few things to bloom to see if they're going to bloom true. And I'll be in that process again when I pot up the little plantlets that are ready to be potted up. We'll see how they go. But pretty much everything I have now. Now you noticed from the last time you saw the stands that there is a lot more space. So I have absolutely downsized. I'm right about 53, 55, somewhere in there, varieties of violet. And that just still feels like an awful lot, but it's certainly way more manageable than 70 odd was. So, I know I've said this before, but if it is not feeling like it's fun, it's time to limit your collection. So something to it's time. It's time to get the bail money ready. And you know what? We are heading into October, and there will be a lot of fall shows. After spring, fall is the time when there are a lot of shows. So do check the AVSA website. And something else to think about at this time of year, believe it or not, we are about 14 weeks out from Christmas. Yikes. And the only reason I mention that to you is that if you're having a holiday party and you'd like to have some plants in bloom for that, you can put them on the pre-show schedule. And so now's the time to be thinking about that, thinking about when your party might be, and getting some plants ready. I used to do that. I used to have a big Christmas party every other year. I haven't done it for a number of years, but I had two of these, the stand that's in the guest room used to also be here in the sunroom, so I had two of them, and I would make sure that they were both full of plants in bloom for the party, because people always wanted to see them because they knew that I grew African violets. So that's kind of a fun thing to do at the holidays, is to make sure you have some things that are in bloom. You can use Growing to Show, the pre-show schedule in Pauline Bartholomew's book, and that's what I use for show, and it works really well. So if that's something you've wanted to do or have maybe not thought about, but now that seems like a kind of a fun idea, now's the time to be planning for that. Well, and as you saw, I have some work to do down in the basement, so it's time for me to get back down there and keep potting things, which means that it's time to keep moving forward. I want to thank you for joining me here today. It's always fun to see you guys again, even though I don't really physically see you. I feel like I'm seeing you. And I hope that you enjoyed this episode. And I hope that your days will be filled with all the things you love. Good growing. I'll see you next time.